All right.
Yeah. So I'm recording there. So yeah, no more swearing now. You should be good.
All right. Okay, I'll get my clothes. I'll get my clothes on.
But I was thinking, like I heard about you back in, well, I suppose it was earlier days anyway, when you had Pleat and all. And by all accounts, Pleat sounded like he was a tough, hardy sort of a dog, or hard managed. And I know then you've had different sorts of dogs since that, and you've had success with all of them. But you know, when you look back over it all, is there certain things that you've always wanted in dogs that they all have in common, or have your dogs changed over the years? What's your opinion on that, or how do you interpret it?
Oh, I think my dog's changed quite a bit over the years. You know, I mean, when I first started, I didn't know any better. I didn't know which I think was probably good in a way. You know, I just fumbled along, give the dog the benefit of the doubt a lot more, and you know, the more I think, at least for myself, the more I know, the more I think I know anyway. You know, you've got to make sure, or myself at least, you've got to let them develop and not be quite so adamant about absolute obedience. To let them develop instead of, I mean, I've got to know their commands or mine. I would like to, but absolute obedience, you don't always get a chance to develop them, especially now I've got a limited amount of work. I used to have lots of work for my dogs, but I don't anymore. So it's kind of, you know, going back, having to remember you've got to let them develop instead of just manage everything. And I mean, the one common denominator I think with my dogs then to my dogs now is I wouldn't want to have a dog that, if I have to have a job, whatever the job is, if they're trained pretty much fully, that I have to say, well, I can't take that dog because I might not get it done. You know, I would like anything. Some obviously might do it better than others, but I wouldn't want to have to leave a dog out because, well, it just won't do it. Now, if it's not trained, that's one thing, but I would certainly want any one of them able to do it, whatever.
You kind of saying that anything that you start training them all, but anything that you continue on with or that stays, I suppose, in your string, it's something that you feel confident going out to the post with, regardless what you're going to meet. You're fairly comfortable this dog is going to be able to do it.
Yes, sometimes proved sadly wrong, but I would like to know, like, I mean, what I was meaning there is if I've got to do on the farm, I don't want to have to eliminate one dog because they absolutely can't do it. Now that might not mean, I mean, for the qualities to do it anyway. I don't want a dog that if I need to bring a ewe and a new lamb in, that, I mean, as everybody knows, I mean, some dogs won't see brand new lambs, which is fine, but I don't want them not seeing them because they're too afraid of the ewe.
Yes. And come here, how long ago is it since you started? Like, is it 20 years ago or more? Or when did you get going with this?
You know, I was thinking of that. I think it was about 84. I got my first good dog. I mean, I had dogs before that, but my first one that actually balanced. Anything we had balancing before, we probably threatened to get rid of because we were always driving. Yes. You know, we always heard it. Like, I didn't have sheep until probably 1980, well, about 83. That's why I got a dog.
Yeah.
But up till then, it was all cattle and horses. So, I mean, we weren't going to, all we did is drive. So if we had a dog that was going to go gather, it'd probably be in the gate and we'd be cussing it.
Get out of the way.
Instead of recognizing that it was helping. So we had Sikkim dogs, you know, Scud missiles. They go out and pick the corners up. So especially if you had to drive twice a year, we drove down the road about 12, 13 miles to the summer pasture. And, you know, we just had some dogs to pick up the ditches. They're all good healers. Yeah. I mean, the physical healing the cow, good on the head because, I mean, they just had to be. But as far as directing them left and right, I mean, my God, the first time I saw that, I thought, this is magical. No mere human could do this.
Yeah, so before that, you'd be doing most of the driving with the horses, and the dogs be picking up the slack and going out to save you going over there or whatever, and just picking up and giving a few of them a shot here and there to keep the whole thing moving.
Yeah, and probably you know, look, not even really in the right direction, just harass them until they come back. But
Yeah. Let the dog work on them there a bit, and they'll come back and go the right way
yeah,
after a
that's
while.
right. That's right. I mean, the only thing every rancher around there, like there was a lot of ranches around where I was raised, but the only thing that was common is they didn't necessarily have to be good, but they took a good down and they had a good recall, because other than that, people didn't like fixing fence that much. So
Well, it's the same kind of thing for a farm dog here, I suppose. To stop and recall it, and you're not going too bad, you can sell them then. But so then I know lots of fellas who are like that, you know, and they're happy with that, and you know, they tell you about the great dog they had, and you'd be thinking, sure, how would you know if he was great? She didn't do anything with him. But when you got started then, and you wanted to move up out of that system, uh, it must have been a lot of frustration, a lot of, not to run anybody down, but it must have been a lot of ignorance. Like, where did you go for help saying, here, I want to squeeze more out of these dogs that I've been getting, I want to ask for more? Where did you go to find those kind of boys, or how did you start getting up the ladder?
like after I started, like a couple of years into trialing.
Well, even when you moved from say from just ordinary Seacom kind of dogs, and you know, driving and all that kind of thing, how did you go to, you know, because most of the fellas I know who are like that, well, they talk to more fellas who are like that, and but to get up to the next level then, to where you want to start squeeze more out of the dogs, you want to put sides on them. Like a lot of fellas here say, right and left, what do you want that for? Like, where did you go for that kind of information and knowledge? How did you tap into that? Like, so you want to
Well,
get more.
I've got dogs saying the same thing, right, left. Why would we want to do that? No, when I first my first dog I spent any money on. I mean, really, I don't know why. It was black and white. It was a smooth coat. I called him Bo. And anyway, I had some sheep. I bought some Finnish landrace sheep that sounded like you could make $1 million on them, because they had lots of lambs. And anybody familiar with Finnish landrace, I can't say they didn't make $1 million, but I sure didn't. Litters of lambs were just not worth it for me. You know, I wasn't set up for that. And milk replacer was expensive. I had a milk cow, but anyway, I took them up. I went to a shearing demonstration with a friend of mine because I wanted to learn how to shear my sheep, because I had sheep. And you know, my dad was always good. A lot of farmers, a lot of ranchers, like ranching, really kind of, I call it the John Wayne syndrome, which is probably not fair to the Duke, but that, you know, sheep are just no place with cattle. You know, it was kind of a proud thing that, you know, no self-respecting cattleman would have sheep, that was more of an Alberta thing, I think,
Yeah,
because you see
yeah,
big ranchers down in Colorado, Wyoming, that are very proud of their sheep heritage, which is fantastic.
yeah.
But anyway, on the way to the sheep shearing demonstration, there was a fella working a border collie. And so me and a friend of mine, we sat in a little bleacher they had there and watched him. And anyway, I was so mesmerized, I missed the sheep shearing demonstration. And I didn't ask any questions. I was kind of shy. And so we went home, and I phoned one of the guys that was in charge of the sheep symposium, or the sheep fair, and asked him, who's that fellow with dogs? So he give me his name. So I phoned him, thinking that no mere mortal could teach a dog to do that. And it was clear I couldn't. I tried to just teach it right, and I knew nothing about balance, nothing. I just, if the dog was going one way, I would get it to, you know, I'd say a command. But the snag was, of course, that was before the internet, but I didn't even know what the words were, but I knew it was something weird. So I said port side and starboard. So anyway, I called him, asked him what he charged. He charged $200 a month to train a dog. And for one of the questions was, well, does he have any eye? And I said, yes. And I was silently thinking, well, I wouldn't send you a blind dog, but that's how little I knew. And so we head up 8 hours to the north. A fellow named Richard Tipton, who was the father, you know, kind of the father of the Alberta Stock Dog Association. He did a lot for it. And he looked at the dog and he says, well, I suppose I could do something with it, but let me show you what I mean by eye. So he grabbed he had a 9-month-old, I think, and a 10-month-old. Just, they didn't know anything, but of course, I could immediately see the difference. And so he wanted $400 for one, and he wanted $500 for the other. And I bought $200 cash to train him in advance, pay him advance for training. And so I'd asked him, would you trust me for the other 200? I'll give you the 200 now, and I'll mail you 200 when I get home. So he did, and he sent me home with that and a book of from Elizabeth Barber Carpenter. And that's what I did. I just devoured that and come out the next year ready to trial. And I think I won. I mean, we didn't. I don't know what you guys have over there. You don't have the underclasses, do you, other than nursery? But here there was. Now there's novice and there's intermediate, or there's novice and there's pro novice and there's open ranch and then there's open and then there's nursery. But then there was pro novice and there was open, and that was it. And so I ran in the pro novice, and I was lucky enough to win my first one.
Yeah.
And he was kind of a hard dog, but he was a good dog. But whether he was hard or he just took advantage of somebody who didn't know anything, it's hard to say.
And so then, well, it was nice now to get out and have success there. So you obviously, you're picking up the stuff. But who did you kind of look at that time, or who were the fellas to follow that you're saying, oh, I want to be like him, or I want to get up there and I want to start beating those guys? Was there anybody that sort of influenced you, or that you said, I'd like to be able to work my dog the way they do it? Or
well, early on, it was Richard Tipton. He had a couple of really nice dogs. I think looking back, they probably knew their job real well. They maybe weren't highly finished as a whole, but they were just that good of dogs that they made spectacular teams. I thought they were awesome dogs.
Yeah.
You can see a tape now. Maybe I wouldn't think the runs were quite as magnificent. I don't know, but I know when the Americans would come up, Ralph Pulfer and the likes. I mean, he was the only one that had a shot at beating him, and quite often did.
But here's the thing I often hear people say, and I just wouldn't mind getting your opinion on it. No, well, that's probably not fair to say I often hear people say it, but I hear people say it sometimes. And to me, it sort of sounds like an out excuse. I hate hearing it. But I hear people say, oh, the big hats, they tell you nothing there. They won't tell you anything. And so it's the same probably over here. They're saying, oh, them fellas should be keeping it all to themselves. And what do you say about that? Because you're out giving clinics and you're doing all that kind of stuff. Or do you ever, you mightn't hear it, you're on kind of on the other end of things. But well, if somebody said to you, oh, should have big hats, it's not easy, they won't tell you anything. What do you have to say to that? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think I can't think of anybody that wouldn't say isn't more than happy to give advice. I don't think anybody holds back. I mean, they might hold back at the time because, I mean, if somebody's not, I get that a lot. Well, I don't want to stop my dog. Well, if you don't want to stop your dog, how are you going to keep it from doing wrong? Then you've got two choices: either not care about your sheep, or let it do what it wants, or if you care about your sheep and you don't want to stop your dog ever, is you better grind it down so it just doesn't want to put any effort forward and get the dog appropriately. But I'll get that a lot is I don't want to stop my dog because it doesn't seem like it's, I don't know, I don't think it's like over there so much, because I think seems like everybody realizes, I mean, you got to be able to control your dog. But here, not always. I think people take stopping their dog as mechanical instead of that dog knowing their job. Instead of, certainly there's probably a balance in between a dog knowing its job, and to win a trial, to make it better, they have to listen. But I guess I getting off the subject a little bit. No, I think there's very few people that try to keep something secret.
Yeah. But I'm always of the same opinion, and I was talking to somebody there only last night, and they were kind of saying, "Oh, well, people talk to you, Paddy, because you're no threat." And I was kind of thinking, no, 95% of us aren't any threat, But then I kind of wondered, those people maybe that say, "No, big hats won't tell you anything," is because maybe when they're told something that they're not listening, or maybe they don't want to hear, and then the conversation stops. That's kind of, because I just find everybody, anytime I want to know anything, I might ask one fella. I mightn't just like his brand. I mightn't be attracted to his way of doing things. I'll find another fella. Fellas always talk away to me. I suppose the other thing maybe you need to be kind of willing to, and somebody gives you a bit of suggestion, is to put it into practice, and then when they see that, they come back and give you more information maybe.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I mean, to give everybody, right from the ground, how you think you should start a dog, that particular dog, to, okay, this is what you should do after when you're ready to shed. I mean, I know it, you know, when I do clinics, I'm trying to rein myself in a little bit so I don't get too ahead of myself and try to give them too much advice, because then everything just gets blurry. You know,
Yes.
you try to give them the money's worth and you end up, you know, if you're not
Confusing them.
careful, you end up giving them so much that you just miss it. You know,
Yeah.
everything's kind of muddied. Well, what was the first step? Well, you know, and you'll remember the last one, but the last one's not till the first one is. You know, I mean, this is how I think you should shed. Well, but then it forgot. Well, stop your dog at balance, get it to learn its sides. You know, and just too much.
Yes.
I think people are happy to. I think people are happy to impart knowledge, and I mean, I think sometimes it's between. Well, it's just I don't think that's accurate, really. I mean, I suppose it is in some people, but people are people. There's lots of generous people in the dog world
Mm-hmm. Well, and
with their knowledge.
that's been my experience completely.